To the Tuesday, April 6th meeting of the City Council. I now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. Councillor Squalia, would you please lead us in the salute to the flag?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
President Zarella.
Present.
Councillor Boschman.
Right here.
Councillor Kuchar.
Here.
Councillor Di Natale.
Here.
By remote.
Yes.
Councillor Fleming. Present. Councillor Green.
Here by remote.
Thank you. Councillor Schultz.
Here by remote.
Thank you. Councillor Squalia.
Present.
Councillor Van Hazinga. Councillor Walsh.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Oh, Councillor Hughes, I'm so sorry. I don't know, he's not, I'm so sorry, you weren't on my list. I apologize, you're on there now.
It's all right, just a few growing pains. Okay. Before we begin the main portion of our agenda, we have joining us remotely Senator John Cronin, who would like to address the council and make a few remarks. Welcome, Senator Cronin. You can unmute yourself, and welcome to the first in-chambers meeting of the City Council in over a year. We are very glad to have you here.
Can't hear him.
Senator, you are muted.
All right, I appreciate everybody's patience. Can everybody see me and hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. So first, just want to thank you, Council President Zarella, and the rest of the City Council for the opportunity to join you tonight. I'm here really for no other reason but to let you know that myself and my office are available to the Council to open up a line of communication. And I very briefly just want to talk about some of my office's priorities moving forward, some of the challenges I think we are going to face, and then some of the opportunities that are going to present themselves in this budget cycle. Specifically, I think there's some historic once-in-a-generation opportunities with the passing of the American Rescue Plan, what that means for the city of Fitchburg, what that's going to mean for the state budget cycle moving forward. But first, I'll touch on at least three priorities that I have that I believe deeply affect the city and will deeply affect its recovery coming out of the pandemic. The first is to find opportunities in the budget cycle here to support Fitchburg State University and the renovation of the theater block. I think when we talk about North Central Massachusetts and as Fitchburg as its beating heart, there is a vision that the mayor has, that economic development has, to really make downtown Fitchburg a cultural regional destination. And I think the theater is the most important project to making that a reality. So looking for opportunities to fund that, not just in the state budget through the earmark process, but also working hand in hand with the congressional delegation at the federal level as we look towards the ARP and the infrastructure package, which we expect to see. The second is fully funding the Student Opportunity Act and meeting the commitment that the state is committed to its students. The Student Opportunity Act is absolutely critical for Fitchburg Public Schools. And if we meet our commitment through the state budget, that's going to mean millions and millions of extra dollars for Fitchburg Public Schools, which is so critical. And the third point I'll touch on, and these are conversations that are ongoing, but it's a statewide budget priority for me, and it's also work that I believe has organic and local solutions, but it's creating more opportunities for kids from Fitchburg High School to learn a skilled trade. There's a program that it just started this year, but it's called an Innovation Pathway in Advanced Manufacturing, and it's providing opportunities for between 20 and 25 juniors and seniors at Fitchburg High School to get highly skilled training in advanced manufacturing and also join with partners in the private industry. And it's giving them the skills to join the workforce and meet our regional labor workforce needs. Programs like that we're looking to expand. We want more seats, more opportunities, not just in advanced manufacturing, but business and finance, healthcare, environmental sciences. So those are conversations I'm having both with Fitchburg Public Schools and with the Chair of Ways and Means at the Senate level to increase funding and state programs for that. And that's something I'm excited about. But I'll try to wrap it up. I believe 2020, 2021 have present some historical challenges, but also opportunities. Massachusetts is receiving $8 billion from the American Rescue Plan, $2.6 billion in direct local aid, $5.4 billion in state aid, and to be spent in 4 ways. The first, COVID-related expenses. The second, to replace any lost revenue at either the state or local level. The third, to fund water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. And then finally, to provide premium pay for essential workers. So at the State House, of that $5.4 billion, that revenue or that money that we are getting from the feds is not going to be included in the fiscal year 22 budget. And at the state level, tax collections are actually up over pre-pandemic levels. So as we look towards Chapter 70, Chapter 90 funding, I think the 2 words at the State House right now are cautious optimism. And I expect the legislature to have a larger oversight role as opposed to the CARES Act, and how that $5.4 billion in state aid is going to be directed. And that's where I really hope to have an open line of communication and dialogue with our local partners as we move through the summer and into the fall, and really with an eye towards economic recovery. But if I could leave you with one thing, it's please reach out to my office with constituent services, whether it's issues with unemployment for people in your wards, evictions, housing. My email is john.cronin@masenate.gov, and absolutely want to be a resource here to the people of Fitchburg as we move out of this pandemic. And I know there's a lot to be hopeful and optimistic about, but we're not out of the woods yet, and look forward to partnering with you moving forward.
Thank you very much, Senator. And I think I speak for all of us when I say I am looking forward to working with you in the future on those issues and many others. And I'm very enthusiastic about the opportunities you've identified for us. And the fact that you expressly mentioned Chapter 90. I think everyone in the room appreciates that.
And I think, thank you. Yeah.
So thank you very much. And we are very happy to have you here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it.
Next up, we have the public forum. The public has been advised to contact the clerk's office by noon today regarding any comments of no more than 2 minutes. And the following have been brought to our attention. We have registered for the meeting Christopher Batinsi, commenting on the Eastland Way matter, which is 04221. Is Mr. Batinsi present on the Zoom chat? We do not have Mr. Batinsi. He did not submit any written comments, so we will move on. We also have Mr. Peter Kettle speaking on the scenic roads provision, which was 227-20. Mr. Kettle, do we have Mr. Kettle on the chat? We do have Mr. Kettle. Mr. Kettle, you can unmute and address your comments to the council at your convenience. Mr. Kettle, you are still muted. We're not hearing anything from you. We have your video. There we go.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, I'm sorry. As soon as you said my name, President Zarella, the whole screen went blank and it said that I was regrouping, so I didn't hear what was said. I apologize.
No problem at all. This is the public comment session. You are welcome to make your comments on the scenic roads provision.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, President Zarella, City Councillors. We've gone a full circle now, and I believe we're back now for the last vote to qualify the 4 roads as scenic roads. I'd like to thank everybody concerned for all their input in making this happen. I would also like, I understand, President Zarella, that you will read out the letter that I sent today, but that will come later, I guess.
That will, since you are here with us this evening, if you would like to address your comments on that right now, I will put the letter on file.
Oh, I have to do that, do I? I'm sorry, I don't have it with me because my understanding was that you were going to read it out in front of all the city councillors.
I can do that. In that case, I will do that now. I will read it into the record unless there is any objection. It is brief and very to the point. This was received at noon today. Good morning, President Zarella. One of this evening's items for consideration by the Council is the final approval of petition number 227-20, which includes Williams, McIntyre, Stickney, and Sheldon roads as scenic route roads. The reason we formed the McIntyre-Williams Neighborhood Association was to try to keep the area as a rural area with limits on the cutting down of trees. Unfortunately, at the top of McIntyre Road, this practice is still happening within the city-controlled space next to the road and up to the walls, which have also been taken. Please see the attached photograph, which will be entered into the record, which was taken this week of a perfectly healthy large tree that was cut down by Asplund, the contractor working with Unitil, I believe. We are getting electrical connections along McIntyre and up Williams within the next few months, and we are pleading with the City Council to please take action to prevent this type of destruction from taking place. I have no problem if you would like to share this letter and the photograph with the Council. Many thanks, Peter.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, that's it really. You know, we're looking forward to keeping this area as it has been as much as possible within the constraints of the law. We're welcoming our new neighbours and everything's looking good. But, you know, my feeling and the rest of the neighbourhood group of people is that the trees are just being taken away at a dramatic level. And we'd like to plead with the city councillors to try and stop that if possible, within the legal reins of the law, obviously. So thank you.
Thank you. We have also a communication on the same petition from Mr. Mike O'Hara. This letter I will also read in unless any objections are noted. This was sent on Wednesday, March 24th at 4:16. Councillor, apologies for missing last night's City Property Committee meeting on the above petition to add roads under the Scenic Roads Act. I should have provided written comments prior to. As you know, both the Planning Board and Conservation Commission recommended in favor of this petition. Several months ago, an approval not required plan showing 10 additional frontage lots on Sheldon Road split off from the Adams R&R LLC parcel on McIntyre, Williams, and Sheldon Road was endorsed by the Planning Board. We suspect that these lots will be conveyed soon and more dwellings proposed. It would be good for the city to have more control over the placement of driveways on these lots if they involve the removal of stone walls or the trimming or removal of public shade trees along the street. In the past several months, after several scenic road public hearings with neighbors' input, the Planning Board approved approximately 8 new driveways on Williams Road, which had already been designated as a scenic road. The additional review by the board and neighbors resulted in a better design. It would be good to have a similar review for future development on Sheldon Road. Mike O'Hara, Principal Planner. And lastly, we have a communication, from Ms. Kathleen Romano on petition 04221, Eastland Way. This was received on Friday, April 2nd at 3:53 p.m. This is in response to the City Council meeting on 4/6/21, Public Safety Committee 04221. I do not have Zoom, so I cannot Zoom in the meeting, but I wanted to just say that the parking on Eastland Way happens quite often, and the last time someone was parked in the street gave us a hard time when we asked them to move, and when we called police, they did not do anything. When someone is parked, we cannot get out of our driveway in either direction, or if a fire truck or ambulance had to get on this street and a car was parked in the way, they would not be able to get on the street. There is plenty of parking in front of the building, and there is a car in the back that has been there for 3 years and has not moved, and there is no plate on it, so that would be a spot as well. I just want to make sure that if this passes and we do call the police, that they will do something and not just drive by. Thank you for your time. Kathleen Romano, 42 East Street. That concludes all registrations for public comment. We do have a few registrations of city officials for specific items. Next, we will hear a report from the Appointments Committee. Councillor Kuchar.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President Zarella. Today, the Appointments Committee met earlier. We had a reappointment of Miss April Maldonado to the Human Rights Commission, term to expire January 1st of 2023. That was approved. New appointment of the Zoning Board of Appeal of Attorney Christine Tree, term to expire April 1st of 2026. That was also approved. And then we also had 3 special police officers for Fitchburg, the city of Fitchburg, following 3 Fitchburg State University police officers, Officer Richard Nelson, Officer Joshua Fulmer LaFleur, and Officer Courtney Soares. All 3 were also approved.
Thank you. I'm going to ask that we take the appointment of Attorney Christine Tree separately because I need to recuse myself. Can I have a motion on the remaining appointments?
Motion on April Maldonado and the 3 police officers from Fitchburg State.
I have a motion and second. Speaking on the motion, if there is no objection, we will take this under unanimous consent. Seeing no objection, the appointments are approved, and I will now recuse myself briefly. Madam Vice President, you have the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Second.
Okay. And we can also take this by unanimous consent unless I see an objection from the people on Zoom or here in person. Seeing none, that is approved, and she is appointed. I'm handing back the chair.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Next, we will hear a report from the Committee on Records. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, all records seems to be correct and in order. Thank you.
Make a motion we accept.
Second.
I have a motion and second to accept the report of the Committee on Records. If there is no objection, we will take it under unanimous consent. Seeing none, the report is approved. We have communications from His Honor the Mayor. 2 new appointments. One of Mr. Derek Cruz as a member of the Fitchburg Cultural Council, term to expire April 1st, 2024. And Mr. Angelo J. Ramos Jr. as a full-time student police officer for the city of Fitchburg. Both of those are forwarded to appointments. We have the matters previously read in, which will be placed on file. We have a communication from Ms. Claire Frieda as executive board member of the Massachusetts Councilors Association and representative of the Massachusetts Municipal Association. Do we have Ms. Frieda with us on the webinar? I see Ms. Frida. You may address the council and welcome. You are muted.
All right, how's that?
We can hear
Hearing?
you.
Okay. I was beginning to think that I was, didn't do the Zoom right, because I'm not good at this, but apparently was okay. Thanks for giving me a minute, Mr. President, and Madam Clerk as well. And good evening, councilors. As many of you know, I'm an executive director of the Mass Municipal Association and the Councilors Association. And we have many requests to do webinars and to put together some programs that are interested by different councils. And we've had one that has been over the top on schools. We've been asked to put something together, so we did do that. And I sent something out, and I was able to get a lot of you to speak with over the past week. And I appreciate that, and I know there's about 5 of you registered. But I thought, I really wanted to make sure that you were aware of it because of your Crocker School building. So we have Jack McCarthy, the Executive Director and the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Mass School Building Association Authority, and he will be speaking on financial obligations and timeline projects. So it might be something that would be of interest to Fitchburg. There are a few communities that are building, and that's specifically for school building communities. We also have Mike Abrams, who's going to speak on finance when it comes to net school spending and minimum aid. He's got a 30-plus year background in school finance, and we've asked him to do a presentation. It's going to be a lunch and learn. It's Thursday from 12 to 1:30. By virtue of your membership in the Councilors Association, there is no cost, but registration is required. So hopefully, if it's something that you think you can get some knowledge or have some questions for either of these people, we've asked them to really make sure we have enough time to take questions and answers, because that's mostly what the concern is about. So I appreciate the time. If you have any questions, my number's available. The clerk has it. Many of you have it as well. I'm easy to find. Or if you want to just go on and register, that's great. But if you need any help, please give me a call. And thanks for your attention, and congratulations on your new chambers. I'm sure you'll all be there, hopefully, within the next few months. We're all looking forward to getting back to normal, and hopefully that'll be soon. So, Mr. President, thank you very much. If anybody has any question before I leave, I'll be happy to try to answer anything.
Any questions from councilors? Seeing none, thank you very much. Ms.
All right.
Frida.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good night.
Night. All right. Moving on, we have a report from the City Property Committee. That would be me. We had 2 items on the agenda. 04620, Councilors Marisa Fleming and Marcus DiNatale to declare Ethier Street a public way. We voted unanimously to give that leave to withdraw with the intention that it would be resubmitted once the prerequisite steps had been completed, simply because it's been sitting on the agenda for several months now. We had 22720, Councilors Kushmerik and Kuchar to designate Alpine Road, McIntyre Road, Sheldon Road, and Stickney Road as scenic roads as stipulated by the Scenic Roads Act, MGL Chapter 40, Section 15C, and that was unanimously approved.
Make a motion, we accept.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the report and recommendations of the City Property Committee. Speaking on the motion, Councilor Squalia.
Thank you. Just to clarify, from Michael Hara, his commentary, the the process that happened on Williams Road with the Scenic Act, that process will happen now since we will designate Sheldon Road as a scenic road, moving ahead into the future, but maybe not for the project that was already approval as noted?
I would have to check with the city solicitor on that. That would be, or more properly, I suppose, that would be a question for the attorneys of the project developers.
But at least
if the city solicitor would like to weigh in and is prepared to weigh in, he certainly may, but no expectation.
We have a number of things going on with Sheldon Road, so I'm not going to weigh in at this time.
Certainly.
Okay.
Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the issue that, let me take this down. I want to comment on the issue that Peter Kettle raised earlier with regard to the trees that were cut down. I went up there this afternoon and took a look at it, and it's not just one tree, it's a series of, I think there are between 4 and 6 trees that were cut down. And I guess I would just like to know if the adoption of the Scenic Roads Act, will this prevent that? Is it Unitil who's cutting down these trees? And will the Scenic Roads Act prevent that from happening in the future? Or will Unitil be able to get around that by claiming that, these trees are interfering with, they have the potential to down power lines and something like that? And I think that was Mr. Kettle's concern.
It is my understanding that Unitil would and intends to go through the process with the hearings that anyone else would. I cannot speak with absolute authority on that, but that is my understanding of it. And we are getting confirmation from the city solicitor, just in case anyone didn't hear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking on the motion? Then if there is no objection, we will approve the report.
Marcus has got his hand up, Anthony.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Di Natale.
Yeah, I live on a scenic road, and my experience with it, when I've had residents on my street request a tree be inspected for removal, I think the way it works is most streets are not scenic roads, so the tree warden, which would be the superintendent of streets, would inspect the tree, and if he deemed it necessary to be taken down, the DPW would just take it down. You don't need a petition, there's no hearing, there's no approval process. For a scenic road designation, in my experience, when there's a tree on Mount Elam Road that needs to come down, he cannot unilaterally will it so. It's got to go through a hearing to get approval, and there has to be a public notice on it. And that's the only differential, in my opinion, from my experience. It doesn't mean the trees won't come down. It means there is a approval process for it. And if Unitil's got to do this, then I would suspect that they would have to go before a regulatory board in the city to make their case why they deserve removal. And that gives the residents an opportunity to know that it's happening and to provide input if they think it should happen or not. But that's pretty much it. It doesn't guarantee the trees aren't coming down. It's just an added bureaucratic step to having them come down. That's my experience living here for 8 years. Thank you.
Thank you. I did receive a comment from Mike O'Hara, our principal planner, who noted that that is correct. There will be a joint public hearing. I will just note for the future, we've been very relaxed about this while we've been in full Zoom meetings. But going forward, I am going to have to start enforcing the rule that once there is a motion and a second before us, we can't take comment from any outside persons, including city officials, until and unless that motion is withdrawn. This is not in any way a rebuke to Mr. O'Hara, who made a very helpful comment. This is just a note for everyone going forward. So if there is no objection, we will approve this under unanimous consent. Seeing no objection and having checked for any more hands raised and seeing none, it is approved. Next, we have a report from the Committee on Public Safety. Councillor Green.
Yes, thank you. Tonight we met at 6:05 PM. The following counselors were present: Councillor Boschman, Councillor Kuchar, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Schultz, and myself. We had 3 petitions before us. 04121, Sergeant Daniel Boudreau to install a stop sign on east side of Stony Brook Road at the intersection with Village Crossing, where the divided entrance to Stony Brook meets Village Crossing. That motion was held because Sergeant Boudreau was not available for comment. Petition 04221, Councilor Marissa Fleming to review the no parking restrictions on Eastland Way to determine whether or not restrictions should be expanded to include no parking on both sides of a portion of Eastland Way. That motion was held because Councilor Fleming was not available for comment on that. Petition 04521, Desolate Auto Incorporated to petition for a Class 2 dealer's license located at 236 Lunenburg Street, Fitchburg, Mass. That was granted for only 6 to 8 vehicles on that lot, but that passed with unanimous consent.
Make a motion, we accept.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Speaking on the motion. Seeing none, if there is no objection, we will take this under unanimous consent with the note of the 6 to 8 vehicle limitation on the Class 2 dealer's license. Seeing no objection, it is approved. Next, we have 2 orders for finance. I have...
Mr. President?
Councilor Di Natale.
Yeah, move that 4721 and 70, move that 4721 be suspended.
I have a motion for suspension of the rules and a second for suspension of the rules on 4721. This requires a 2/3 majority, so Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Squalia.
Aye.
Councillor Van Hazinga.
Yes.
Councillor Walsh.
Yes.
President Zarella.
Yes.
Councillor Boschman.
Yes.
Councillor Kuchar.
Yes.
Councillor Di Natale.
Yes.
Councillor Fleming. Councillor Green.
Yes.
Councillor Hughes. Councillor Schultz.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
Move 4721 be adopted.
Seconded.
On the motion?
Speaking on the motion, well, I have a motion and a second to adopt 4721. Speaking on the motion, Councilor Boschman.
On the motion, I'm going to vote in favor of this, but I'm going to ask if the chair can ask the people in the cemetery if they can come up and talk to us about what they're going to do at Forest Hill on the roof and the wall, the granite walls. If they're not going to do anything fixing it up, then I may not vote for this. I was hoping we would have had it. I could have asked that question tonight. You could have got the response.
Well, we certainly can't bring them in front of us tonight on no notice, so, Councilor, you'll need to vote the way you're going to vote, but I can ask that we put in a communication to the, it's the cemetery board, and ask them if they could send a communication to the council regarding their intentions on that matter.
Mr. President?
Excellent. Councilor Di Natale.
Yeah, just on that, even if we had a meeting where the commission were before us, they wouldn't be able to speak on that because it's not an item on the agenda. It's not pertinent to this petition.
Right, Councilor, I'm simply indicating that we can ask them for a communication.
Yeah. I mean, if we had a meeting next week where they were before us to ask those kinds of questions, it's not within the scope of that meeting. So what you're doing is the correct approach. Yeah.
Thank you. So I have a motion and second. Anyone else speaking on the motion? If there is no objection, we will take this under unanimous consent. Seeing no objection, it is approved.
Motion for 7421 suspension.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second for suspension on 07421. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Squalia.
Aye.
Councillor Van Hazinga.
Yes.
Councillor Walsh.
Yes.
President Zarella.
Yes.
Councillor Boschman.
Yes.
Councillor Kuchar.
Yes.
Councillor Di Natale.
Yes.
Councillor Fleming.
Yes.
Councillor Green.
Yes.
Councillor Hughes.
Yes.
Councillor Schultz.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
The
Motion
matter
to
is
approve
before us.
7421.
I'm sorry, Councillor
Motion to
Ginatelli?
approve.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a second. Councillor Green, speaking on the motion?
Only just if we have, where this identifies safety and efficacy and to reduce barriers to vaccine. I didn't know if we've noted any barriers to any of our public getting the vaccine, other than the vaccine hasn't been available for everybody yet. So I didn't know if they had identified what exactly the barriers to getting the vaccine were in our community.
If Councillor Ginatelli is willing to withdraw his motion and everyone consents, we do have Director Curry on the chat.
I will consent to removing my motion.
Any objections? Seeing none, motion is withdrawn. Mr. Curry, or do we have you on the chat? I see Mr. Curry. You are currently muted. You may unmute and address the council.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, councilors. This grant is a grant issued by the Department of Public Health. The grant is designed to support staffing. We will use the grant to hire a vaccine coordinator and also additional nursing. We can use up to $100,000 of this grant up until June of 2022. So I understand Councilor Green had a question about the barriers. The state has kind of gone in a bit of a different direction with the general public. It seems that forthcoming will be information about that. It looks like the pharmacies will be handling the bulk of the general public, and the local boards of health, or at least the Fitchburg Board of Health, will be we'd be looking for those folks that are hard to reach, such as homebound folks. We will be partnering with, well, actually, we're already partnering and conducting clinics with MOC. We've had 2 already, and we'll have another one tomorrow. We've done about 600 to 700 folks in the Spanish community. The Spanish community does have some barriers and some hesitancy to the vaccine. And I will say that about 90% of our active cases, which is about 75 active cases in the city right now, are of the Latinx ethnicity. So I think that this grant will definitely help with setting up clinics and getting outreach to those folks, and partnering with city partners as well as the community health centers and the faith-based organizations to help get clinics in hard to reach areas, and hope to get homebound people in the process. That make sense?
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor Green?
It does, thank you, and I appreciate you taking the time to put that message out to the public. It is important that we remove and reduce any barriers that we can. We make every attempt for herd immunity to be efficient. So I appreciate you speaking on that very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. The matter is now again before the council. Any further questions or comments before we take a motion?
Move to approve 7421. Second.
I have a motion and second to approve. Speaking on the motion, if there are no objections, we will take this under unanimous consent. Seeing none, it is approved. Next up, we have the Cdbg orders for year 47. Just a moment, Councillor. I will note that there is a typographical error in 05121. That should read $37,000 as per the numerical notation. This does not require an amendment, as it's simply an error in the agenda, not in the petition. I just want everyone to be very clear on that, including the viewing public. We don't typically appropriate dollar amounts under 100, but That said, Councillor Boishman, you had a comment.
Mr. President, I'd like to pull 48, 50, and 63, and I accept all the others if they accept them.
So I have a motion to approve all except 48, 50, and 53.
And 63.
Sorry, thank you, 63. Thank you. I have a motion and second to approve all recommended CDBG appropriations except 48, 50, and
63.
And 63. Speaking on that motion, if there is no objection, we will take this under unanimous consent. Seeing no objection, it is approved.
Move to approve 48, 50, and 6321.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the remaining 3 items.
On the motion,
On the motion, Councillor Boishman.
I want the record to state on 048 that the mayor agreed that he would clean up River Street in the process.
The record will reflect that Councillor Boishman has made this comment.
050, I want the record to show that I'm not in favor of a two-way boulder drive. And 063, I'm not in favor of a downtown coordinator at this present time at $35,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Now that we are in person again, we can do voice votes again. So, if there are no more speaking on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any in opposition? Councillor Boishman. And I'm going to ask the 3 remote councillors to declare their votes specifically so that we make sure we recorded them properly. Councillor Di Natale?
Yes.
Councillor Green?
Yes.
Councillor Schultz?
Yes.
Motion passes 10-1. Next, we have 2 ordinances, 06821 and 06921, relative to the salary of the fire chief. Those, as well as petition 07321, Council President Anthony Zarella to set the salary of the fire chief pursuant to City Code 23, Section 2326, which instructs that the compensation of the chief engineer shall be fixed by the council with the approval of the mayor and in accordance with the provisions of the Civil Service Act. All of those will be referred to, with the approval of the council, will be referred to the council as a whole committee next Tuesday following legislative affairs. Council as a whole committee does require a 2/3 vote, however, for suspension of the rules. So may I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
I'll take that as a motion and a second. And Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Squalia.
Aye.
Councillor Van Hazinga. Yes. Councillor Walsh.
Yes.
President Zarella.
Yes.
Councillor Boishman.
Yes.
Councillor Kuchar.
Yes.
Councillor Di Natale.
Yes.
Councillor Fleming. Yes. Councillor Green.
Yes.
Councillor Hughes.
Yes.
Councillor Schultz.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
Thank you. We next have ordinance 17220, an ordinance amending the zoning bylaw by striking it in its entirety and inserting in its place the attached zoning bylaw. I would like to request, in order to keep our timeline, that we do something somewhat unorthodox with this one, which is to vote its first reading tonight, but also send it to Legislative Affairs, seeing as there were some additional drafting tasks that were referred to the legal department by the council at its last hearing on this matter. So there's some additional legal language that has not been reviewed by the council as of yet.
So moved.
Seconded.
I got a question.
On the motion, Councillor Boishman?
On the motion, I got a question. If you want to send that to first reading tonight, what happens if you wanted to make some changes? I didn't make any changes. I asked you about that, remember?
And my answer to you then still stands true. We can make amendments up to its final reading.
Okay,
So if you have any amendments you would like to propose, I would suggest that you submit them to the Chair of Legislative Affairs prior to next Tuesday.
okay, I'll do that.
That would be Vice President Walsh.
All right, thank you very much.
No problem. I have a motion and second to, I'm sorry, Councillor, was that the motion to send it to Legislative Affairs, or was that the motion to to make its first reading?
Both.
Both, okay. If no one wishes to divide those, excellent. Then we have a motion and second. If there is no objection, we'll take it under unanimous consent. Seeing none, we have done the first reading of the ordinance, and it will be heard at Legislative Affairs. We have petitions which are sent to their respective committees, with the exception of 07321, which was addressed previously. Councillor Green.
Yes, hi there. I just have a couple of amendments to the petitions before they get sent. First, 07021. I would like that to read Dave Clark to petition to have the booth at Crocker Field named in his honor. That was only the booth to be named in his honor at Crocker Field. And the second item would be...
Just a moment, Councillor. Shall I take that as a motion to amend?
Second.
On 07021?
Second.
Councillor, shall I take that as a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. I have a motion and second to amend 07021 to reflect that this is the booth at Crocker Field.
Speaking on the motion.
Speaking on the motion, Councillor Gianatali.
I'm just curious, Mr. President, should this not be a school committee matter? They own Crocker Field.
We can certainly, whether or not we can declare that it be named such, I will have to look into, but we certainly have the power to declare the sense of the council on it. So we'll refer it to Legislative Affairs, and if it turns out that we can only declare the sense of the council and not take authoritative action, then we'll deal with that at that time.
All right, I'm just, okay.
So as to the amendment, if there is no objection, we'll take this under unanimous consent. Seeing no objection, it is amended and referred to Legislative Affairs. Councillor Green, you had an additional amendment on, I believe, 071?
Yes, and that I would like to give leave to withdraw because the street light has already been replaced from our fabulous Public Works Department.
Second.
All right, just as a matter of technicality, we'll need to take this as a motion for suspension of the rules because it was placed before the council and has not gone through committee. But I have a motion and second, which I will take as a motion for suspension on this item. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Squalia.
Aye.
Councillor Van Hazinga.
Yes.
Councillor Walsh.
Yes.
President Zarella.
Yes.
Councillor Boschman.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said on this petition. I couldn't understand you.
This petition, we are making a motion for suspension of the rules so that it can be withdrawn because the matter has already been handled.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Kuchar.
Yes.
Councillor Gianatali.
Yes.
Councillor Fleming.
Yes.
Councillor Green.
Yes.
Councillor Hughes. Yes. Councillor Schultz.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
The matter is before the council.
Make a motion, we accept.
To withdraw?
Second.
I have a motion and second to give leave to withdraw. Speaking on the motion, if there is no objection, we'll do it by unanimous consent. Seeing no objection, it is withdrawn. And 07221, Councillor Andrew Van Hazinga and Peter Johnson to install a streetlight at the intersection of Pritchard and Wallace Avenue. That is referred to Public Works. And that concludes our agenda for the evening. I'd just like to, I was going to do this at the top of the hour, but I didn't want to cut into the senator's time, so I wanted to welcome everyone to the new legislative chambers. I'm thrilled to be here finally, and I am looking forward to a long history here.
Mr. President, I got one public announcement, if you don't
Councilor?
mind. As you know, we're having cleanup. The city's sending their sweepers around in neighborhoods to clean up. Could we ask the residents if they can clean their sidewalks to help us out, to get the sand off and put it in the street? They don't have to put it in piles.
Certainly.
And it's a really easy job. It's not going to be over-restraining, and it'll make the city look a lot better. Thank you.
Certainly. And just going forward, I'm just going to request that anyone who anticipates having announcements at the end of the council hearing or council meeting, forward them to me as possible. But I do understand some things will come up unexpectedly. That said,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adjourn. If there is no objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.